Hi, everybody. Happy to see you here for the next episode of Toggl Academy. So, for those wondering who's this new face, where's Ilya? Ilya is fine. Ilya is okay, and I'm just here to step in and bring in more togglers into the content that we make. And my name is Emilija, and I'm the community manager here at Toggl. So about today's topic. Today we're going to be covering, I think, an important topic because with 2023 so far, it's been sort of like a odd year. It's been economically unstable. It's been filled with uncertainty, and I think that also reflects a lot onto businesses and how businesses operate and basically the struggles that businesses face. Especially in this case, we're talking about agencies. And something that we saw happen is that landing new business has become super tricky, while that revenue stream needs to keep coming in. So in order to tackle this problem, today we have Rory joining us from the WOW company, who's going to be probably the best expert to talk about this. And so I'm happy to give you the floor to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do, what you know, and what you're going to share today.
Fantastic, thank you. My name's Rory Spence, and as Emilija has kindly said, I work at the WOW company. So the WOW company is an accountancy firm that works with marketing agencies of various shapes and sizes. We tend to work with those agencies with between 8 and 80 staff. That will often be around about £1 million turnover and upwards. And we do more than just your typical accountancy. So we, of course, do the compliance things that you would expect an accountancy firm to do, but we also deliver a lot more strategic advice than your typical accountancy firm. And obviously that strategic advice is specifically focused for agencies. But we also allow you to outsource your finances entirely to us. So more and more frequently now, we're working with agencies who are thinking about hiring a finance manager or a financial controller, but instead can outsource everything to WOW. So that is a little bit about what we do.
Perfect. So now when it comes to the setup of this webinar, it's going to look exactly the same like the previous ones looked like. So I'm going to give Rory the floor to take around 30 minutes to deliver his presentation, talk about the stuff that he knows best and share his knowledge. And after that, we will open the floor for any questions and sort of just have a little bit of a discussion. And that will be it. And as always, we will also send the recording to all of our attendees, and the recording will also eventually end up on Toggl blog, so people will be able to find it and watch it. And I guess, if you have any questions, do shoot them in the comment section. We will try to address them as we go or at the end of the session. And with no further ado, I'm giving you the floor, and let's rock and roll.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emilija. So exactly as Emilija has just explained, the session this morning is all about how to increase your profits from your existing clients. And I think Emilija set the scene really nicely by saying that, yes, it's very true. New business is harder than ever. However, it has always been a challenge, let's be honest. And so this gives you, hopefully, an alternative method of bringing that revenue into the business. And I almost want to start with a slight caveat this morning that a lot of the information we're going to talk through today isn't necessarily going to be brand new. It's not going to be rocket science. It's not going to be things where you go, wow, I've never thought about those things. But my experience, certainly, from helping agencies over the last 10 years is that this is stuff that a lot of people, although they know they should be doing it, they're not doing it. And they're certainly not doing it enough, and they don't have a clear plan. So I'm hoping you'll leave this afternoon's session with a bit of renewed energy around this and a bit of a kick up the backside to say, yes, I need to go away and I need to get better at doing some of these things. As Emilija has mentioned, in terms of timings, I'm going to talk for the next 25 minutes or so around some insights of what we see the top performing agencies doing when it comes to upselling to their existing clients. I'm then going to share with you a checklist for non-negotiables that you need to have in place in your agency to make this a success, and 4 questions that you need to be able to answer internally to ensure that, again, you've got every chance of success here. And then I'm going to be hanging around to answer any questions that you've got, so feel free to shoot those into the comments. We will come back to those later. But let's dive straight into it. And the first thing I think to talk about here, really, regardless of the topic that you're going to talk about, what's your strategy for success here? So when it comes to upselling to your existing clients and making more profit from your existing clients, what's the strategy that you have within your agency? And I think the first place to start here is to think about who is in charge of this process. Who is going to lead within the agency when it comes to upselling to your existing clients? If you liken this a little bit to your new business process, you will all have someone within your agency who is responsible for new business and ultimately monitors progress against targets and ensures the right things are happening. You would never dream of just letting new business happen by itself. You'd always have someone responsible for looking after that. And this should be exactly the same. You absolutely should have someone who is ultimately responsible for this and leads the team and gives updates and sets targets. And so please make sure you've got someone who is ultimately responsible for this. I think following on from that, it sounds obvious, but have a really clear plan here for how this is going to work. So how exactly are you going to achieve these things? What's your approach going to be to speaking with more existing clients and trying to upsell and pitch to them? And hopefully some ideas will come off the back of today that can help with that, how you're going to achieve this. But also, when are you going to do this? When are going to be your touch points with each client? And who is it that you're going to go and speak to? Which clients are you going to begin with here, for example, as well? So it just sounds so obvious, but if you just go, right, yeah, we're going to try and upsell to our existing clients more, you're not going to get success. You need to really think about how exactly that's going to happen. I touched on this a second ago, but also having clear targets for this is going to be really helpful. Again, if we liken this to your new business, you're going to have really clear new business targets. We'll also have targets for your revenue from your existing clients, upselling opportunities. What does that look like? What do you want your split of income to be between your new business and your existing clients? So having some really clear targets here will help you to know whether you're winning or not, and actually whether this is a success or not. And the other thing that I think is absolutely imperative is getting the whole team involved in this process. Of course, the first bullet point on this presentation is who is in charge of this, but that doesn't mean they're the only person responsible for ensuring this happens. Actually, you need your entire team engaged in this, whether that's because they're the ones that are building those relationships with the clients and ensuring that they're getting a fantastic service from you, which, let's be honest, if that isn't happening, you're never going to be able to upsell to them. So that's the bare minimum that needs to be happening. But also, are your team keeping their ear to the ground and having conversations proactively with clients to understand maybe what some of their challenges are right now? And are they then sharing that with you or whoever it is that is in charge of this process? This isn't to say your team suddenly need to become expert at selling and they need to be the ones necessarily upselling to your clients, but are they at the very least identifying these opportunities and bringing them to you and to the team to say, hey, I just had a conversation with Joe Bloggs over here, and actually he's really struggling with this. I think we might be able to help. How about we, tee up a meeting and have a conversation with them? So that is absolutely the strategy that I think you should be focusing on to ensure you're giving yourselves the best success. Now, following on from what I was just talking about there of bringing those ideas to the table for your existing clients, I wanted to share, I guess, a bit of a case study and an idea of how exactly this could work. Now, first of all, I want you to all imagine something. What would happen if you took all of the energy that you put into new business pitches, whether that was last year or over the last few years, or even so far this year, and actually you put that same amount of time and energy and effort into pitching to your existing clients? This is a really, really interesting opportunity that a lot of agencies do not consider. You're quite willing, a lot of you agency owners. I know there's some agency owners out there who are not willing to pitch at all, and I kind of commend you for that. But there's a lot of agencies that invest a lot of time in pitches, new business pitches, when sometimes really the reality is they've got a very, very small percentage of actually winning that work and winning that client. It can be a really painful process, really laborious. And at the end of it, if you don't win the work, absolutely nothing good has really come from that process. Whereas actually, often agencies forget, hey, you've got these raving fans that actually are there who already love what you do, who already rave about you and have a great relationship with you. And it wouldn't be a big upheaval for them to just continue working with you on some existing projects or for some new projects. And so actually, I'd really encourage you to think about how you can get in front of some of those existing clients and be bringing new ideas to the table. And I mentioned I have a case study. We have a client who did this fantastically. They introduced what they called an innovation hub. Now, this was something, I know this client very well. This was something the agencies had wanted to do for a number of years. They'd spoken about wanting to have a team who were proactively and unprompted coming up with new ideas for their existing clients, new ways that they could service them and help them. But as with a lot of things in business, they never quite carved out the time to make it a reality. It never quite happened. However, when we went into COVID and actually a lot of work stopped, was put on pause, or was cancelled altogether, suddenly this agency found they had a little bit more time. And I think, like a lot of people, they made the most of the furlough scheme. But actually, for a couple of their team members, they went, right, you know what, we're not going to furlough you. We're going to use this as an opportunity to trial out our innovation hub. So that small team of 2 or 3, they were tasked on a part-time basis. It wasn't full-time, but on a part-time basis, they were tasked with getting together and brainstorming and coming up with ideas that they could pitch to their existing clients. Sitting down and actually thinking proactively, what challenges do we believe this existing client is having right now, which was quite easy in COVID. There was a lot of challenges, right, that we were all facing. And then thinking, how can I pitch those to those existing, these new ideas to these existing clients? And actually, they were going to these clients and just saying, hey, look, we've been thinking, and actually, there's a few things we think we can do to help you here. Could we grab half an hour? Or actually, could we meet for lunch? And can we talk you through some of these ideas? Now, they did this with a lot of their clients. And although at the beginning of COVID, actually, to be honest, the reality is it didn't start so well. Those clients weren't turning around and saying, yeah, we definitely need your help. Yeah, let's go ahead with that. They were saying, look, we love those ideas, but we just don't have the budget right now from a marketing perspective. We're putting everything on ice. And the agency said, okay, yeah, fair enough. But what was really amazing was then to see the outcome of this afterwards. As we kind of got out of COVID and things started to return to normality and marketing budgets returned for some of our bigger clients, those clients were kindly coming back to this agency and saying, wow, you know what, can we revisit some of these ideas? Because you know what, now that we've got the spend, we really liked these. And can we talk about these again now? And they started winning work off the back of some of these pitches that they'd done to their existing clients, months and even sometime a year or longer before. And so they continue to do that now. They still have that team, that innovation hub, as they call it, coming up with ideas proactively that they are bringing to their existing clients and pitching to them. And guess what? Even when they're not necessarily winning new projects off the back of that, boy, do their clients appreciate it. They are absolutely enhancing their relationships and they're making themselves indisposable, really. So these clients are suddenly saying, you know what, from a retention perspective, you guys are really safe. We really value you and the ideas you're bringing to the table. So there's a whole load of good that can come from this. So I hope that case study is useful and maybe sparks some inspiration. Now, to get back into other things we should all be doing, and this is the really obvious slide, I'll be honest. How can we be building these relationships with clients? And like I said, this is obvious stuff. You're going to see there's 5 bullet points going to come on this slide, and you're going to be going, I know this, Rory. This isn't new. Yeah, I know this. But I'd really challenge you. How much of this stuff are you actually doing? Are you really thinking about these things? And do you have processes in place that ensure you tick these things off? First up, just simply entertaining and educating your clients. I think these are the 2 magic E's that you can do for your client, right? First of all, entertaining them. Of course, that's going to help build that relationship and really build that trust and get them to love you and rave about you. But I think even more important than that is the second E, educating them. You are the expert when it comes to the marketing side of things and what it is you do as an agency, whether you're niche or generalist, you're the experts. And so if you've got some service offerings there that you're wondering why your clients aren't buying them from you, or why more clients aren't doing them, is it because you're not educating them on the value that can bring to their business? And actually, is it that you're not talking to them and giving them advice around how, wow, you're really missing a trick by not doing these things? But look, the good news is we can help. So I really would encourage you to think about what are you doing regularly to entertain your clients, but also to educate them. That could be as simple as something like a webinar like this, that hopefully achieves both of those things. I'll let you all be the judges of that. Now, the second bullet point here is 5 things you can do for that client. I love this idea. I think it's a really easy thing we can all do. What are 5 things you can do that will really help your client right now? Or what's one thing you can do that will really help your client right now? And I'm talking about them as a person, right? Them as an individual. What is it you can do? Can you make a little note of things? And can you bank some favors? You know, can you find a way that you can really help them so that, again, a bit like this agency who introduced the Innovation Hub, you become indispensable. You know, you become actually more than just an agency. You're someone there that's really got their back, that really supports them and helps them and proactively seeks ways that you can help them. So I'd encourage you, maybe even just start with your biggest client or your biggest few clients. You know, can you make that little list of 5 things you can do for them over the next quarter? And can you find a way that you can go and tick those things off? They will absolutely love you for it. I think, again, a really simple thing. Are you celebrating anniversaries, birthdays, milestones with your clients? You know, hey, we've worked together for a year, or hey, look, it's your birthday. It's a big birthday. Are you sending something through the post to them, for example? Branded cupcakes. You know, what a nice little touch that you can do. You probably find it's likely that will find its way to social media as well, which certainly won't do any harm for you. But just building that relationship and just keeping you at the forefront of these people's minds as well. You know, if you can be just having these check-ins for one reason or another, sending them little nice things through the post that arrive in the office and just gets everyone smiling and thinking of you. It just means that, hey, that next time that they do need that help and they've got this marketing challenge right now, again, if you happen to be at the forefront of their mind, that's going to be really handy, isn't it? Next up, big believer in this. I think this is so crucial, you know, actually really building your network out. You know, no doubt you've got your key contact within your client or a couple of key contacts potentially, but actually who are some of those future leaders? Who are some of those people that are up and coming within that business that you can tap into? And maybe go back to some of these things here. How can you entertain them, educate them? Can you do 5 things for them that will really help them? Can you celebrate their birthday, or when they hit a milestone, can you big them up and help make them famous there as well? Because as we know, people move around from job to job, and actually, if they really rave about you and they love you and you've got that great relationship, there's every chance that they're going to take you with them, or they're at least going to put you on a short list for the next pitch, for example. So again, I think I'd really encourage you to think about who some of those future leaders are within your clients and how can you help them out and just get on their good side as well and really find ways to support them. And finally, something that kind of leans on everything we've just spoken about there again, actually, how can you make your clients look good? I mentioned this a second ago. How can you make your clients famous? Social media makes this so easy to do, and it's completely free, right? When your client, whether that's as a business or as an individual, when they're winning awards or great things are happening to them, how can you shout about them and give them a platform and big them up, whether that's on LinkedIn or other social media platforms? Speaking of LinkedIn, you know, LinkedIn has that great recommendation. I think it's called recommendation, that functionality where you can write something about someone that will then feature on their profile that other people can read. And you can do that for free. You might need 10 minutes to write something for them, but what a nice thing. I don't think there is anybody in any position in any business in the world that wouldn't really appreciate you just taking 10 minutes to write some really lovely things about how great they are to work with and how you've really enjoyed working with them and then being a client of yours. And you can do that completely unprompted. They'll get that email that will land in their inbox to say, hey, Rory's written some nice words about you. Rory's written a recommendation about you. Like, what a nice little touch. You certainly wouldn't want rival agencies doing that about your clients. And so if that's the case, like, why aren't you doing it yourself? Now, we've shared some sort of tips there in terms of things you can be doing. And as I said, everything on that list, already, right? But again, my challenge to you is really, how much of this stuff are you actually doing? Where are you missing opportunities? Now, once you've sort of thought about those things and, right, what more could I be doing? Like, where do we really start when it comes to making more profit from our existing clients? I think the number one place to start, and this is a really great exercise to do internally, yourself and also with your team, is ranking your clients. Go through a client list, run a client list, produce that first of all, and then go through and give all of your clients a ranking. You might want to do A star, A, B, C, for example. I know an agency that we work with, they're big football fans, and they like to use football terminology, which I can appreciate because I'm a big football fan myself. So they have their Champions League clients, they have their Premier League clients, they have their Championship clients, and then they have their conference clients as well. And they clearly define what falls into each ranking, if you like. So don't worry, I'll leave the football chat now. We'll go back to A star and A and B. It's much easier. But what would need to be true to ensure you gave someone an A star rating? Right, they probably buy every service that you do. They're probably on a retainer with you if you work in that way. They regularly refer you to other businesses, for example, and you've got a fantastic relationship. They're just really easy to work with as well. Now, what might an A client be? Okay, well, maybe someone that buys quite a few services from you and they've referred you in the past, but maybe not entirely frequently. They're pretty good to work with as well. The communication's good. You like working with them, but also maybe it's not the biggest deals that you do. Maybe they're not the biggest client that you work with. Again, if you look at B, maybe they're buying a few things from you. They're not on a retainer, but they do a few projects a year, maybe with you. They don't refer anyone at the moment, but again, they're not bad to work with. Sometimes they can be a little bit slow to come back, or sometimes they're a little bit demanding with timings, but they're not bad to work with. And then, who are those C clients that you almost think, I probably wouldn't mind getting rid of these people. They never refer to us. They're a bit of a pain to work with. They just sort of do one project a year with us. So go through that process yourself. And when I say yourself, I'm on the assumption that you are maybe the business owner or director within the business. Go through that and do that. However, also get your team's input on this. Maybe not your entire team. Some of them will take this as a good opportunity to just bash your clients and give them all C ratings or conference ratings. But actually, who are some of the people where you really trust their judgment and actually say, you know what, you work with a lot of these clients. Can I get your input? Can you give these people these rankings and give them these definitions for each tier as well? Why would they give someone an A star? Why would they give someone a B? And get their input as well. And that's the fascinating bit, because you'll be able to see how they differ. Their list differs to yours as well, and actually start to pick holes about it. Hang on, I'm giving this person an A. You've given them a C. Why is that? And they say, look, they're a nightmare to work with. And you might go, oh, wow, actually, I don't see that. Maybe I don't work with them too closely anymore. So I wouldn't see that. So I think going through this process of ranking your clients and getting your team's input on that to make sure that list is really sound is a really great place to start. Because, of course, I'm not saying that you'll then go and upsell to your A-star clients, because actually the reality is they're probably buying everything that you have to offer anyway, and you almost don't need to upsell to them. It happens naturally. But what you can certainly do is go, right, we're going to disregard some of these C clients. And actually there might even be a couple in the B grade that we're going to leave, but it's those A clients that we want to start with. So it really gives you a starting point. Who are these clients that we want to go to? Once you've done that first step, I think the next stage is creating this roadmap. When and how are you going to upsell these services to your existing clients? And which services is it going to be as well, by the way? this isn't going to work if you're just randomly ad hoc reaching out to a client and calling them without any real strategy to go, hey, we think we can help you additionally here. Actually, how regularly are you doing that? So for example, your A clients, are you meeting with them every quarter, perhaps, to talk to them and find out what's on their mind and how you might be able to help them? With those B clients, is it maybe every 6 months or even just annually? Those A-star clients, are you meeting with them monthly? Maybe you're going for a lunch with them, for example. And what are the cues that you're going to start adding these services to clients? What is the cue for you to have that conversation and say, hey, you know what, I really think actually we can help you with these things as well. And maybe we should consider increasing your retainer or putting you on a retainer. So really have a think about what that journey looks like and have that consistency. So you've got a really clear plan internally for doing exactly that. Another thing I'd encourage you to think about is, and it's amazing how many agencies do this. I think everyone listening to this can probably relate to this in some way. I know I can relate to this at Wow. We have had this in the past where a client has gone and bought some services from another provider, and then we've gone, hang on a minute, why have you gone to them? We could help you with that. And the only reason that they have done that is because they didn't know that we could do it. And there is nothing more frustrating, I can assure you. There is nothing more annoying than when a client, if you haven't experienced it yet, I promise you, it's nothing more frustrating than when a client goes to a competitor or another firm or another agency in your situation to say, can we have some help with this? Because they don't know that you can help them. So please, sounds so straightforward, sounds so obvious, but please make sure you're letting your clients know what you can help them with and all of the services that you provide. And even if it's not right for at the moment, actually, look, we can help you with this down the line. If and when something like this comes up, just so you know, we can support you with this. I think you can do this even in the sales process as well. When you're onboarding a new client, is actually talking to them about some of the other services you provide to say, hey, I know that's not relevant right now, but this could be something that we talk about in a year or so's time. Hey, just to keep yourself front of mind for them. Something that some of our clients do really well here. I love this advice, and it's if you have some sort of newsletter that you send out to your clients, can you almost put the spotlight on someone within your team who's got a specialist skill set? So actually being able to highlight them and say, or maybe you've just hired someone that's come in with a specialist skill set, and you can put that in your newsletter. Hey, we've just hired this person who is an SEO expert. This is the sort of thing that they can help you with. And guess what? They've just joined us. So they've got a bunch of capacity and they would love to help you out right now. I think that's a really cool way of just keeping your clients in the loop and reminding them of some of the things that you can do to help them that maybe aren't obvious and maybe aren't the things you're currently doing for them. And I think another thing that this drives me nuts, to be honest, this is again another really straightforward thing, but actually letting them know you have availability. As I just mentioned, if you've got a new employee who's just started, you can even joke about it. Hey, look, they've got loads of capacity right now. They can certainly help you. But even just generally as a business, as an agency, please make sure it's really clear that you've got availability to pick up work with your existing clients. I know from a sales perspective, I can relate to this, right? I work in sales, and I know you want to create that scarcity. You want to show that actually we're busy right now because we're really good at what we do and people are wanting to buy from us. So I want to show that we are busy right now. However, just put yourself in your client's shoes. When they pick up the phone, hey, how's everything going? If you're there saying, oh, manic, we've just had a 4-day week and it's crazy and we've got work coming out of our ears. If that client was there trying to maybe buy things from you and that was your reaction, would they think twice and go, well, actually, it sounds like they're a little bit busy. Maybe I won't put this on their list then. So just make sure that you're getting the balance right there about, hey, yeah, look, actually, it's really good. We're working on some fantastic projects at the moment. We've got some brilliant clients we're working with. But just so you know, we've got some availability towards the end of April. We can absolutely help you with anything that you need our help with. I think just reminding that sounds obvious, but don't be too busy. And the final thing I wanted to share with you before we wrap up and I share this checklist with you and move into the Q&A are some metrics. So we'll fly through this slide, but some metrics that I think you should be tracking that will help to show whether you are winning here ultimately, and some things that will really help you to focus in the right places when it comes to upselling to your existing clients. First of all, this is a fantastic stat that you should definitely be looking at with your clients. It's their service penetration score. Quite simply, this means how many services are they buying from you? If you've got 4 services that you broadly offer as an agency and that client is buying 2 of those, excuse me, that sneeze crept up on me. If you've got 4 services and your client is buying 2 of those services from you, quite simply, their service penetration score is 50%. There's a pretty good upselling opportunity there. If you've got 4 services and your client's buying 3 of those services and therefore their service penetration score is 75%, they might not be the people that you would start with. They might not be the first clients that you go to when you're thinking about upselling, because actually they're already buying 3 out of the 4 services that you offer. So service penetration score, really good one to help you prioritize who those clients are you should be going to. Next up, new business versus repeat business. I mentioned this at the start when talking about creating a plan and having a strategy. Actually think about what your targets are for new business, but what your targets are for repeat business. And of course, seeing what those actual turnover levels are on a monthly basis is brilliant and will show you the result and whether this is working. However, that is what I call a retrospective indicator. You know, it's a lagging indicator. You can't impact that figure right now. So what I'd encourage you to think about is actually how many new business conversations are you having each month or each quarter, and how many repeat business conversations are you having with existing clients right now? How many upselling conversations are you having? Because this is going to be a really good marker for success. You'll be able to see, this is what I like to call a predictive measure. You know that if you're having regular repeating business conversations with your existing clients, that is going to lead to this repeating business figure being up, whether that's in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, depending on your sales cycle. But it's going to give you an insight into your future performance. So I'd really encourage you to track the number of those conversations you're having. And finally, this is where I believe gross profit margin is absolutely imperative. You absolutely need to be able to see your gross profit margin by service, or at least an estimate of it, so that you know which of your services is the most profitable and which of those maybe is a bit of a loss leader, but you know you need to offer it to get people in the door. So it's alarming how many agencies are not tracking gross profit margin accurately whatsoever, but also not tracking gross profit margin by client, for example, by service or department, by individual, as some agencies will even do. So absolutely, if you're not doing this, if you're not calculating your gross profit percentage, your gross profit margin in a meaningful way, I'd absolutely love to help you. Please let me know, reach out to me after this, and I can have a conversation about how you can get that data, because that will really give you that focus of which of your services should you be upselling to your existing clients if they're not already buying them. Now, finally, before we get to the Q&A, I mentioned earlier that we would share your checklist that you can go down to ensure that you are set up in the best way to make a start on this and make this a success. So this is a little bit of a summary really of everything we've just spoken about. So we'll keep this very brief. First of all, there are 4 non-negotiables that you need to have to make this a success. Who's going to lead on this project? Who is ultimately going to be accountable and responsible for this stuff? Have clearly defined targets and objectives as well. Have a plan, have a strategy for this. That is going to increase your chances of success. Have your roadmap. When exactly are you going to upsell to clients? What are those touch points that you have with them? Which services is that going to be, and which clients are you going to start with? and communicate your mission to the wider team. As I mentioned earlier, having your team involved in this process, absolutely, it's a non-negotiable. They need to be aligned with this and understand the importance of why we are doing this. In addition to the 4 non-negotiables, there are 4 questions you need to be able to answer. What is your gross profit percentage for each of your services? I just mentioned this, absolutely crucial. You need to make sure that you're putting your most profitable services in your shop window, if you like. You're getting that in front of all of your clients, new clients and existing clients. What is your service penetration score? Again, one of those metrics we just spoke about. If you can track that, it's going to give you a really good insight as to which clients you will start with on this journey. And then, that leads very nicely to this next question. Which clients will you start with and which services will you start with? If you can answer those first 2 questions, those 2 final questions become much easier to answer. And then ultimately, if you can answer those 2 questions, hey, let's get going. Let's go and do that tomorrow. Let's go and do that on Thursday. There is nothing holding you back from starting those conversations. So this checklist, as well as all of these slides, will be shared with you by Emilija and the Toggl team after this. So you'll be able to refer back to this. I'm absolutely more than happy to answer any questions you have off the back of this session, but also more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has now as well. So Emilija, I'll bring you back in at this point.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing the deck and your knowledge, and it was really valuable, and I'm sure people will get some good thoughts out of it and things to think about. I do have a couple of questions we could go over for the end of the session. So something I was wondering, you kind of mentioned that there's obviously a trade-off, right? Like if you're not selling, like the time you're taking to sell to new clients or trying to pitch to new clients, you could be relocating that time to pitch your already existing clients. So how do you say, because obviously everybody has a limited amount of people, hours, professionals, whatever. So what kind of metrics would you use, or how would you even decide how much of the time, effort, labor should go towards, say, instead of pitching to new leads, pitching to your existing clients?
Great question. So, of course, we spoke at the very start of this session about how new business is incredibly tough right now for agencies. However, we absolutely need to keep doing it. So this session here, this advice, upselling to existing clients is not really an alternative to new business. You need to still be doing that. That is where I believe the importance is of having different people responsible for these 2 things. Have someone who is heading up your new business within your agency, and have someone who is responsible for everything we've spoken about today, upselling to your existing clients, setting those targets and reporting on those targets. And ideally, if you can have those 2 people as separate people, that will make things much easier when you're dividing your time between those things. I think it's fair to say you won't need to invest as much time and certainly as much cash in upselling to your existing clients, which of course is one of the benefits of doing this stuff, as you will with your new business. So although your new business person, they may even be full-time in that role, and that might be their entire focus. With the existing client side of things and the person responsible for that, it's very possible that that's part of their role. That is one of their responsibilities, as well as other things. It might be that they're an account director within the business and they're responsible for this as part of their role.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned this sort of getting the whole team involved rather than just having one person saying that's your job and everybody else don't care for it. But again, everybody's busy, everybody has their job functions, and everybody's I have my own things to take care of. Why do you need to do this? So what are some tactics or strategies you would say would be kind of the most effective in getting the whole team involved? What should you tell your team? What are some of the core things you should be telling your team to get them involved and actually get them to want to be involved rather than feel like this is just another thing you have to do?
Yeah, great question. So it's not easy, I think, is the first thing I'd say, right? It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's very easy to get your team aligned with your journey for profitability and growth. I am stereotyping slightly here, but typically creatives are not interested in the profits of the business or the numbers or how long it even takes them, to be frank, right? Creatives want to make something look beautiful. That's their sole focus. And so getting someone like that to actually really understand the importance of not over delivering, of being really strict with their own time, and understanding why exactly that's so crucial, it's not easy at all. One thing I'd encourage you to start with, I'm a big fan of a video you'll be able to find on YouTube called Money is Fuel by Simon Sinek. It's an excellent 1 minute video that talks about the importance of bringing money into a business and profit within a business, and how that actually, profit in a business doesn't mean you as the owner and director is driving around in a Ferrari and going on amazing holidays. The reality is very different. Profit means you can reinvest in the business and help people with training and development and working alongside other fantastic people, because you're able to grow the team, and of course some lovely perks potentially that go with that as well, perks of employment. So there's a number of things that you can do to try and get your team engaged in that journey as to why profitability is so important. And I think that's almost the first step, as a whole, as a business, this is why profit is so important. And of course, you need to be working for a business that's making a profit. Otherwise, you're in a dangerous situation. And then once you've had that conversation, you can then draw on, great, and this is therefore why we're going to put an increased focus on our existing clients, and actually that there's a big opportunity here. And we want you all to keep your ear to the ground to identify opportunities where maybe we can upsell to those existing clients. Are you asking them what challenges they're having right now, or listening to them? They might just be telling you, you're not even asking. They're telling you what their challenges are. But are you really listening? And are you then feeding that back to the team? And are you sharing that? And it's not rocket science. It's not hard stuff for anybody to do. So that's what I'd encourage you to do with your team, that conversation.
Great insights. And sort of coming back to the context of this whole session, why we're talking about it right now, the year 2023, the whole turbulence, so what sort of changes are you seeing in these strategies happen right now? Obviously this has upselling to your clients. It's not a new practice. People have been doing it. Agencies have been doing it for years. What sort of changes are you seeing, or what sort of changes are necessary, you believe, to this process in this specific time?
Great question. I think for me, I've always been a big fan of specializing and niching as an agency. I think there are a number of benefits to that, to keep it brief and at a headline level. From a profitability perspective, without doubt, agencies that specialize and niche are more profitable, mostly because they're able to charge higher fees for their work. From a new business perspective, there are a number of benefits as well. It allows you to take that real laser focus of, these are who our ideal clients are, and I'm going to get in front of them, and this is what we're really good at, so I'm going to make sure we're really clear with our positioning. And that puts you ahead of agencies that will be generalist agencies. And also from an exit perspective and evaluation perspective, agencies that specialize in niche will see a much higher multiple if they were to look to sell the business, or value the business. So at a headline level, there are a lot of the benefits anyway of specializing and niching. To go back to answer your question, Emilija, I think it's more important than ever that agencies are doing this, that they're really distinguishing themselves from the crowd, because as we've seen over the really difficult times over the last 3 years, let's be honest, but that is continuing on, really difficult times in the economy right now, and for a lot of agencies, with wages increasing as well, by a huge amount as well, particularly in the UK, I'd add. Actually, it's really difficult to ensure your pricing is doing the same, and your pricing is going up by the same level. Specializing and niching will allow you to do that. Specializing and niching will allow you to put your prices up to that right level. And then again, when we come back to upselling to your existing clients, if you are an expert, your agency is an expert at working with this particular type of business in this particular sector, and you've got a load of insights that you can share, think of the amazing conversations you will be able to have with your clients because you've got those insights and that you're tapped into those. And to go back to one of my slides earlier, that entertaining and educating piece, you can educate your clients because of some of the insights that you have as to what their competitors are doing and what other people in that sector are doing. And that will massively increase your chances of upselling to those existing clients and looking at further ways that you can add value.
Cool. Okay. And the very final question to close the session. Obviously, there's the checklist of like the things you need to think about and things you need to do. But if there's one thing somebody who just watched the session should do tomorrow morning, what should they start with?
Great question. So if they are wanting to start upselling to their existing clients, I think, as with really anything, if you're looking to start tomorrow, what's the thing you can do this evening, tomorrow, by the end of the week? And that is to start formulating a plan for this. If you have a really clear plan for how you're going to make this a success, it will massively increase your chances of success, rather than if you just kind of start winging it and just picking up the phone sort of aimlessly to clients. If you really think about, okay, what is the service that we provide that actually not many of our clients are buying from us, but is highly profitable? Great, that's a good starting point. That's the service I'm going to try and upsell. Why is it that clients should buy that particular service from us? What value is it going to add to them? Okay, let's work that out and work out the positioning of that particular service. Great. Okay, that's a really cool starting point. Now then, who am I going to go and speak to about this? Who are the people I can upsell this to? That goes back to the tips shared from the session of ranking your clients and working out their service penetration score as well. If you can do that, you should be effectively fed a list to go, great, that's who I'm going to start with then. These are the 5 clients that I'm going to go and speak to about this service here. And this is the value that it's going to add to them. And then the final step, you heard me use the phrase roadmap a lot. What is the roadmap for doing that? So great, we know what the service is and we know who you're going to sell it to, but how exactly are you going to deliver that? If you just pick up the phone tomorrow to try and sell it to them, it might not work. Can you, first of all, think about helping them out with something? What are the favors that you can do for that person? Have they got a birthday coming up that you can celebrate with them? Can you do that LinkedIn recommendation, for example, or start sharing a few of their posts and just earn some brownie points with them? Actually, if they're an A star or an A client, can you take them out for a lunch soon? Can you meet them face to face and do that meeting? And hey, the opportunity might arise during that meeting to upsell this service to them, but it might come as a result afterwards. It might be 2 or 3 months down the line. But I think if you can work out what that roadmap looks like, how exactly you're going to have this conversation, that will give you the best chance of success.
Perfect. I mean, I'm out of questions and we're also kind of running out of time. So thank you so much for joining us, sharing your know-how, sharing your ideas and thoughts. That's really appreciated. And I'm sure people are going to find it useful way beyond a week or 2 or end of 2023. So yeah, thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for anybody watching this, we will be sending out the recording, obviously, like we always do. It will end up on Toggl blog. And if you want to watch our upcoming episodes of Toggl Academy, you can find all the information in our newsletters, on LinkedIn, most of our social media. So just keep an eye out and the information will be there. And hope to see you on the next shows. And yeah, and for now, I'll say goodbye. Thank you for joining. And I hope this was useful for everybody. So thanks for tuning in for Toggl Academy and see you guys.